that the Lord gave to me over the year with visions and dreams. And I've kind of narrowed it down because a few of them were like falling down the same line. We're going to talk about, he's going to prophesy about our faith, about the environment, the faith, the environment, the cosmos. Yeah? Okay. First things first, this morning when I was in prayer, I need to tell you what the Lord told me and said, tell them to reflect. Okay. When I went in to reflect on what? Go back to 2018. Okay. I have all the prophecies up from, I hope, 2009, I think. And everyone so far has come to pass. But from 2018, things were like 2 to 3 years. Yeah? Things will happen in 2 to 3 years. 18 unfolded to 19, which started to unfold. 19 added to it, unfold. We're coming into 2023 and prophecy has come to pass. But there is an unfolding because some were 2 to 3 years and then we're getting into another 2 to 3 year period. I guess I'll get into the other stuff first. One of them was in 2018. When did COVID come up? 2019, right? In 2018, I had the vision of everybody going sick. Yeah? And then getting worse. So it was like there was going to be, in 2018, I said there was going to be this thing that was going to, like a flu. It said that it was like a flu, but it's something that won't go away. And it'll evolve and get worse and worse and worse. This is going to continue. It's going to continue. It's not going to go away. So if people are trying to say it's going to go away, it's not going to, it's like the flu. It's not going to go away, but it's going to evolve. It's going to keep evolving. It's going to keep evolving. And that's something that we have to look at for ourselves. So that's one of the prophecies in 2018, 2019 it did. Also in 2019 or 18, one of those. Dang it, I should have gone and listened for myself. That I said that there was going to be war. God told me and showed me that there was going to be war. And war has broken up between Russia and the Ukraine. It's not done. It's going to get worse. Not only that, okay, I'll do the fate one last since I'm already getting into these. So where is it? Here. Another war is about to break up. Within 2 to 3 years, there'll be another war. This one I saw, and I had this vision at the beginning of my ministry. We're talking almost 20 years ago. And I saw, who can remember this? Who was with me almost 20 years ago? Yeah, not even. Do you remember me having the vision? And Jay, you guys were there at the beginning. I had the vision about Mao Zedong.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Who is he with?
I think it was China. Was it China and Korea?
Okay.
China and Korea.
Him, and then the woman in the cat Chinese, yeah, that outfit with the long cigarette.
Oh.
And they were coming together. Yeah. Okay. That's the next. I saw that again, and so it looks like the war or the battle that's going to continue is going to be related to that, because I saw the breaking. There's going to be war between kings or between rulers, but the Asian descent or Chinese, Korean. Don't even ask me exactly what they are. Okay, so I just say Chinese descent against another Asian descent. Okay, so these two, and then that popped into my mind when I talked to the Lord about that. So this is within 2 to 3 years. There's going to be another one. It's like it's going to be happening on two ends. Like war is going to, and then it's just going to run. We're going to end up right in the middle. Okay, so that's that. That's a continuation of what was spoken 2-3 years ago, which came to pass, and now it's unfolding. And I said it will continue, and now we have another one going to start up within 2 to 3 years. My goodness, yeah. Trouble times, right? Another thing too is cosmic disturbances. We spoke about that, the falling thing. Okay, that's going to get worse too. Okay, that's going to get worse too. So more falling things from the sky. Keep your head up. Okay. You know what was funny about that? When I got this one was like a couple weeks ago. I was outside after I got this. I talked to her. I went outside and I looked at, and from my house, looking at the sky, you don't see nothing. The stars and stuff, there's too much light. You cannot see. But what do I see from the sky? Shooting stars. 2 of them, like 2 separate ways. And I was like, holy hell, 2. I mean, 2 wishes. You know that, yeah? You see a falling star, you wait. Come on. We all do that. We did that when we was kids. I still do that. Okay? I mean, 2 wishes. But the deal is I've never seen one being here. Never, because it's too bright. You can't see the stars. But that night, I looked up and I was, I thought maybe I had a meteor shower or something going on, because they just fell from the sky and it was shooting. And I was all like, there's going to be more. There's going to be more. You know those flare-ups? Those solar flare-ups? Yeah, those are going to get worse too. And it's going to affect us. I think it takes time for it to get to us. Okay, all those flare-ups that have been, it's going to catch up with us. Yeah, it's going to catch up. It's not like it's going to happen today and then tomorrow it affects us. No. It happened years ago, but now we are going to get the effect. So the effects of all those cosmic disturbances are happening. Watch, things going to fall out from the sky. Hopefully they land in our yard. Yeah, land in our yard. Okay. The vision I had, the next one is the vision I had about the environment. The animals. The animals were dead in the field. The animals were dying and dead in the fields and in the streets. The fields, this is at the beginning of the year. This is a sign of famine coming. The animals are always affected first. Yeah? Even though they can survive on a lot of things. But they're being forced out of something, and then they're going to start starving. Yeah? I got a word. When I got this one, I actually got a word. And in this one, I got to tell you guys the words that I got. You guys don't have to go there. Just it was actually Jeremiah 52. Actually, it was a whole chapter 52. But in this one verse, there's verse 6. By the 4th month of the 9th month of the month, the famine had become so severe in the city that there was no food for the people in the land. There was no food for the people. And then when I saw this, and I said, famine is coming. When I heard famine is coming, and I opened and I read this, I thought, holy hell, famine is coming. We may not be affected as others are being affected, but the repercussions, eventually it's going to get to us. Yeah? We always seem to be the last one. Yeah, we're the last one for any medical treatments. We're the last one, right, to get all the good stuff. You know, it's already been on the market for how long, and then it takes Hawaii forever to get that kind of stuff. Well, be glad you live in Hawaii. It is like, yeah, because we're gonna be the last ones to be affected. In other words, yeah, the repercussion. We're at the end of the unfolding. Yeah, so we'll be affected. So no food for the people of the land. So famine is coming, and I said this last year. It's coming. You can feel it. You know, you can. Anyway. The other thing too is fire. Everything is dry. Dry. That which should be wet can be dry. That is dry will become wet. It's like this rotation, yeah. The environment is switching, and we spoke about this last year too. So more fire, more water. This is the only two things I saw. Usually there's something going on, you know. I usually see that last time that I saw the wind was wind and water. Oh man, that was really bad. But now fire and water seems to be the theme for the past 2 years. Yeah, and going into this one, yeah, lush places will become dried up. Dry places will start to become wet. You'll be a lot more rut. You know, the rot, because they're not accustomed. They're not, and the water. And when I say dry places are going to become wet, that means they're going to be flooded, rain. All the things that they never get, they're going to get, and they're not going to be prepared for it. And just like those who are in places that are lush, things are going to start drying up, and they're not going to be prepared for that. Yeah, because we become accustomed and comfortable with what we have and what we know. People who are in places that are wet and things are drying up, they're like, where's the water? Places that are dry, it's like, holy hell, where did the flood come from? You know, it's those kinds of things. And it's like a backwards, topsy-turvy thing going on. The environment is rising up and it's doing what it does, right? Too much water. Places that were dry gains much more water, yeah? By floods, by storms, those kinds of things. The people are not prepared. That's what I said. The people are not prepared. No matter what, the people are not prepared for this, and it's going to happen. So we have war, and we have famine coming, and we have not only that, and yesterday, I forgot to write it down, but he just reminded me, the unfolding of pestilence. That's coming too. The unfolding of pestilence. I was reading, I must have sat there and read half the book of Exodus, because it was just, it just pulled me in. But the one thing that I was caught up on is Pharaoh and the plagues. And every time I read a plague, every time I read about the plague, I went back and I read it again, because every time I read, you know, it kind of just strikes me like, what's going on with this? The deal is with this, the fire and the water, here comes the plagues. Here come the plagues. The famine is just one of them. The famine is an outcome, okay? The famine is an end result. But there are other things that are going to happen that's going to lead us that way. It's going to lead us that way. So another thing that also came to mind, do you guys remember, what is that? Not that movie, but that, Dagnammit, Soylent Green.
Yeah.
Yeah. That movie keeps coming up in my mind. I actually got that video. I should watch it again. Anyway, there's a truth in that movie because God keeps freaking reminding me of it. You know? Where the prices keep rising. Okay, don't expect anything to come down. What is today is going to be coming. Nobody's going to bring it down. And it's going to just keep rising. And guess what happens to the people? The people suffer. The people will always suffer. The people always suffer because of the greed of other men. Yeah? The greed of other men. And because of that, what did I say? Was it last year I said prices of gas can go up to 5+? Yeah, going up to 7. Watch. In 2 years, going to be up to 7. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. It's just going to keep going up. It'd be better to have a bike. I told Mike that too. The only place I go is down the street. Why am I going to drive? I might as well ride a bike. Or walk. I could use the exercise. The deal is it gets like that. We're going to have to be wiser and smarter about what we do. Yeah? That's the other thing. Okay, so I did the vision of the animals, the famine, the pestilence, the fire, the rain. Make sure I got everything. The cosmic disturbances, the war that's about to break out. And now let's talk about faith. Let's talk about the Word of God. All right, in this one, the word I got for this is actually in Matthew 26. In Matthew 26, the things. In Matthew 26, from verse 36 to 45. I'm not going to read it. It's about only a couple verses. But it's about the prayer in the garden. The prayer in the garden, okay? Where Jesus goes to the garden to pray, his final prayer, and he takes with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee. I'm going to have to read a little bit. He takes the 2 sons of verse 37. Let's start from 37. How's that? And he took with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, and he began to be sorrowful and deeply distressed. Then he said to them, my soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death. Stay here and watch with me. Let's stop for a second. And this is one of the verses that I actually stopped at because I circled it and I put it here. God is exceedingly sorrowful because he is asking his people to be watchful. He's asking his people to be prepared. He's asking his people to rise up. And then he's leaving us to those instructions. He gives us these things, guide, lead, direct. And what do? Going on. He went a little further and he fell on his face and he prayed, oh, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. Continue. Verse 40. Then he came to his disciples and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, what? Could you not watch with me for 1 hour? So when he came back, they were asleep. And this is kind of what's happening to Christians. We are asleep to what God is doing. Because we only see what we want to see. And we're seeing through closed eyes. Seeing what they want to see, they do not see. Hearing, they do not hear. But their eyes are closed and they're seeing what they want to see. They're seeing what they want to see. It's kind of like, because we are not watchful. Because there's a self-assurance in Christians, yeah? That they are guaranteed a way into the kingdom just because they go to church. Church cannot save you. Pastor Shirley cannot save you. Your fellow man cannot save you. Only God can. Because we all will stand in judgment before him, not before me. Because if I was to judge you guys, we all got us. Nobody will make it into the kingdom. Okay? Not even me. That's why you guys lucky I'm not judging. That's God. He's understanding. But men are not watching. So he is asking his people to be watchful. Like he says, with me, in connection to God. Don't be watchful on your own, but he wants you to be one, abide in him. Yeah? Abide in that same life, abide in that same truth, so that you can always be watchful in your faith, right? In your trust, in your hope, so that you can continue to move in the ways of God. He continues to say, you could not watch with me, people, because the people's focuses will not be on God. So for Peter and the sons of Zebedee, they become focused on sleep. They become tired. Okay? They become tired. And in that, they start losing their instructions. Yeah? They become complacent, lazy. They fall asleep. And he's saying, the people's focus will not be on God. It's not be on God, for they will give into the flesh, just like this. Watch and pray, lest you enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. And the flesh is what's going to cause us, the desires of the flesh, or the flesh, the spirit of the flesh, the soul, will cause people to turn and not follow the instructions of God. He goes on to say, and again, a second time he went away and prayed, "O Father, if this cup cannot pass away from me unless I drink it, your will be done." Verse 43. And he came and he found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. So he left them. So there is a warning that has gone out. Okay? Remember the warning of the 7 churches? We spoke about that, I think, last year or the year before. That the warning to the 7 churches went out. It went out. Now it says, be watchful. Now we have to be watchful. But we are in this part. That God has come back and we're still sleeping. There is a coming happening. So he said, he left and he found them sleeping again. For their eyes were heavy, so he left them. He's going to let you sleep. If you don't want to be watchful, Christians, if you don't want to be watchful, if you don't want to be aware of your walk with God, and you want to start looking away at other things, then God's going to leave you to it. He's going to leave you asleep. Then he went away again and prayed a third time, saying the same words. Verse 45. Then he came to his disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners." Let's stop. In other words, the people will turn away because of their complacency. They will start to turn away, and this is where the falling away starts to begin. Yeah? They profess him as God, right? They profess him as God, right? But they will turn away from that very God because of the fact. This is when I heard the falling away has begun. This is the falling away because people are not watchful. So they are in the churches. They're in the churches. Yeah? They're professing God. They're praising, glorifying, right? Doing praise and worship and stuff. And they think that's serving God. How can we be so blind? Doing those things, even me behind this pulpit, doesn't profess serving God. He only gave one commandment. Well, 2. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Though this is a tool to profess the second, this is not my deliverance. Like being in church is not your deliverance. It's how you treat one another and your fellow man. But people are unaware that they're doing that. That's why a lot of Christians are making God look bad. Why? Because people are coming against other people for their religion, for their color, for their beliefs, right? And then they condemning them by the word of God that they do not have, and saying God doesn't like that, and God hates that, and God is... That's not God. That's not God at all. But they believe that it is. They have fallen away from the truth. They have fallen away from the truth. That's why Jeremiah, I should have marked it. That's why, again, Jeremiah 52 verse 3 says, "For because of the anger of the Lord, this has happened in Jerusalem and Judah, till he finally cast them out of his presence." So in other words, God was doing this, the fall of Jerusalem, because he was going to put them into bondage. Jeremiah, right? It was for the 70-year bondage. God allowed it to happen because he was getting ready to cast them away from him. Because of them. So he allowed the unfolding of their bondage. The Chaldeans coming in, the Babylonians coming in, right? And plundering them. God was allowing it all because of them. Because they had already turned away from God. They had already turned away from God. So God allowed these things to happen, right? So he could finally cast them out of his presence for 70 years. This is happening because of the Lord. Yeah? For he is preparing his people for judgment. And what is that judgment? The coming of the Lord. It's not far. It may not be in our lifetime, but it is coming. It is coming. So the people will fall away from their faith. They will fall away from it. They're not going to leave the church. Oh, God forbid that they should leave the church. Because if they leave the church, they may not have a place in the kingdom. So they will turn away from God, but they're not going to leave the church. And not leaving the church, but leaving the God of the church. They're going to leave the God of the church to embrace the lies. For their faith will be based on worldly goods, worldly status and positions, right? What they can gain from God, what they ask God for, and what people are telling them they can get if they just ask. If they just ask, if they beg, if they plead, if they sacrifice, they're going to get all these things. That's why Peter tells Timothy, Paul tells Timothy in this word, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but according to their own desires. Of course, the house of God is supposed to be a place of truth. A place where no one is condemned and no one is rejected. But in the house, they're rejecting people in their own thoughts. They backbite, right? They backbite each other. Yeah. They reject because of their own desires and their own understandings. They push people away when we're supposed to be the house of God. Yeah, the house of God. But many will turn away. They will turn away. For they will not come, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. Because they want what they want. They want it to be the way that they want it to be. But according to their own desires. Because they have itching ears, they will heap up for themselves teachers. In other words, they will bring people who speaks what they want to hear. They will want only to hear what will feed them. Like churches have the prosperity and abundance message. That's a lie. Because it makes people go after the worldly goods. And makes them think if they give more, they will get more from God. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. And they deceive themselves to think that they're going to get rich if they do this. If they do this. That's kind of what it is. So they'll go to places. Because we've had a few people that come to here who didn't want to come back. And the reason? This is not the kind of message they want to hear. I said, oh, what kind of message? They want prosperity and abundance. I said, yeah, you're not going to get that yet. That's God. Prosperity and abundance is added on to seeking after God. But you cannot seek after those things from God without God. So it's always God first. But they want those things. And this is why they will bring people in who will speak those things that they want to hear so that they can be convinced that they will be rich, that they are good. Yeah? Because they don't want to change. They just want somebody to tell them that what they're doing is good so that they can believe and override what they know they're not doing. That's sad. That's actually really sad. He goes, according to their itching ears, they will heap up for themselves teachers, and they will turn their ears away from the truth and be turned to the fables. Aside to fables. And that's the truth. They're going to turn to lies. They're going to turn to deceit. They're going to turn to the things that make them feel good. You know what I learned? You know, in the beginning, and I think this is true for you guys too who have been here for a while. In the beginning, it wasn't so good, was it? It was a freaking struggle, wasn't it? Ask Jennifer her testimony of her beginning. Sister used to go home moaning and groaning. She was scared to come to church. She'd be like, oh no! Oh no! She'd share with us. I would laugh. Because why? Because it was hard. It was hard. It wasn't feeding what she wanted. It was breaking the lie. But you know how hard it is to let go of things that you become so comfortable with? That you become so desirous of? And then you think God's going to give it, and you're told God don't have to give you nothing? Because He is God and He determines who gets. Not by what we do, but by His will and His desire. That's His way of blessing His people. But for us to say, bless me, Lord, save me, Lord, give to me, Lord, heal me, Lord, that's God's will. Asking ain't going to get it. His will going to be done. His will going to be done. The deal is if people believe that if they keep doing that, we become persistent widows. And when we do that, God will eventually go, fine, and then give it to you. That doesn't mean you have a relationship with God just because of that. You understand that? He did it, just like with the others, He did it to silence you. Because you became an irritant. That's kind of what that is about. You bothered the judge, and He gave it to you to shut you up. And just like with everything else to fall away, God is allowing them to have their, what they believe, what they want. God is going to do this. So we must be watchful, like Jesus said, of what God has asked of us. Because if our eyes are closed, we are no different than them. The garden. He is asking us to be watchful with Him. Not by yourself. Not be watchful by the things that you're watching for. But by the things He has taught you. And the things He has trained you. And He's asking you to hold tight to those things so that He can do mighty things. Yeah? But there is a silver lining to all of this. There always is. But there will be a rise. There will be a rise of spiritual insights, revelations, visitations. There is. There is. When I opened my word, I got Matthew 25 for this one. When I saw this morning, Matthew 25. I should have marked my stuff. I wasn't reading. Anyway, Matthew 25. Yeah. Matthew 25. I'm not going to read the whole thing. This is too long. It's about the parable of the talents from 14 to 30. That's too much to read. But in a nutshell, God is giving to his faithful. 5 to 1. 5 to 1. Because this is like revelation insight. Yeah. This is God working through your life. Yeah. And the more faithful, the more you get. Because you understand the master's will for you, God's will for you. The more you understand, the greater the gift that is given. And it's not the gift of the talent, it's the gift of the trust. Those talents represent the degree of God's trust in you. 5 to 1 are the talents. Yeah? But yet the one who had 5 multiplied it and brought back, because he put his heart completely into the will of the master. And he took the 5, that trust. That's how deeply the master trusted him. And he gave the trust, he gave his master not only what was equivalent, but he went beyond. He brought back 10. Just like the guy with 2, he brought back 4. It's kind of like that. So there will be more spiritual insight, more revelations, more visitations. And yet God is saying, this is me giving you talents, trust. This is my way of trusting you. What will you do with it when it happens? And it happened. Because this is a telltale sign that he's trusting you with something. He's going to be trusting you with something. The faithful and to the faithful and the steadfast, more will be given to the faithful and the steadfast. That's why in Luke chapter 12, he talks about the faithful servant and the evil servant. This was actually supposed to be my message on Friday, but I was sick, but it came back this morning. I was like, oh God. So the faithful and the steadfast, right? Because why? Because the faithful servant and the evil servant, to whom much is given, much will be required. This is what it's about. When the faithful servant knows that their master is coming, they're prepared for it. We know in our hearts that there's going to be a reckoning coming. We know he's going to come. We know he's going to return. We believe it. We understand it. We know it. But are you ready for it? Because you know not your hour and your day. For when he comes in the clouds, we may not be here because he may have called us home prior to that. You understand that? But even are you ready for his call? When he calls you home, are you ready? Are you faithful and waiting at the door when he says, now it is time for you to come home? Are you ready? Many people are not. You know what? They're too busy looking in the sky to watch Jesus come. But they're not even ready for the voice that says, your hour has come. Tonight I require your life. We're not even ready for that. But the faithful servant is always ready because they know not when the master will come home. And they are always ready. Blessed is that servant whom the master finds watching and waiting for him to return. Right? Then you have the evil servants who, well, they go to church and yeah, he's going to come when he comes, and and they're not preparing for anything, but they take everything. They go and they start eating and drinking and beating on their fellow man, judging everybody else, taking from the Lord, give me, give me, give me. This is an evil servant who did not know, and yet their hour will come. They hear the word, they do, God is done, and yet they're not ready when God says, I require you now. They weren't ready. They're not going to be ready. So he's saying that to whom much is given, much will be required. If you know God is giving, remember I said about the insight, revelations, the visitation are going to start. If you have dreams and vision, Amos chapter 3, it's going to start happening. It's about time. Yeah? It's about time. And God is getting ready to do this. So when it starts happening to you, you better know. Are you faithful or are you evil? It is a talent that was given. Are you going to act like the one with 5 or the one with 1 who buries it and keeps it to themselves because they were too afraid of what it meant to lose it? So it's something that we all got to look in. My closing, I know, in Zechariah, oh, here we go, Zechariah. And in this one, okay. In Zechariah, this was my closing when I opened up. In a nutshell, this is what he's saying. Zechariah 10, 3-5, he says, my anger is kindled against the shepherds, and I will punish the goat herds. The goat herds are the leaders, those who guide and lead other people. The shepherds are those who have churches, because God is coming against the churches. For the Lord of hosts will visit his flock, the people. The dreams and visions are coming, right? And his house of Judah, and will make them as his royal horses in battle. From him comes the cornerstone. From him the tent peg. From him the battle bow. And from every ruler together. They shall be like mighty men who tread down their enemies in the mire of the streets in the battle. They shall fight because the Lord is with them. And the riders on horses shall be put to shame. In other words, those who put themselves on high horses, the leaders, the shepherds, over the people, causing the people to stray. God is saying in this word associated with what I was talking about the inside and stuff. God is saying, I'm coming against them because they put themselves on a high horse, but I'm going to bring them down low. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the people, my followers, I'm going to make them rise up and they're going to fight for me. This is why the revelation, the insight, and the visitations are going to happen. Because God's going to make the people in the pew rise up. The people who believe. And even the people who have yet to believe. God's going to start talking to them too. And they're going to seek out those who know God. Because they won't understand what God is doing. But you will. And you will help them. And you will guide them and teach them. And you will bring them before the Lord. So that they may know that God has done this for them. So in 2023, God is getting ready to do, it's a double-edged sword. He's tearing things down, but he's building something new. He's building something new. He's bringing restoration as he's tearing away the old. He's unfolding events that are going to continue, and it's not going to change to the end of time. Right? And things are going to get darker and worse. So he needs the light to rise up. And that light, my people, are all of you. So prepare yourself. God is getting ready to do a mighty work. Amen?
Amen.
Done. I'm done.